Hi, friends. It's Joni with Three Feathers Spiritual Wisdom, here with a video about our astrology this week. And October's been very full of fascinating astrology, and this week is no different. But before we jump in, I do want to say thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting. I really appreciate the support of the channel. The other thing that I want to mention is that if you are interested in finding out what's going on in your chart, what is activated for you, and soon, and I will announce this, but soon I'll be opening up times where I start on people's activations for 2023. What's in your stars? What's in your chart for 2023? So, if you would like something like that, my information is in the box below. And I would love to. I have fun doing this, so I would love to look at your chart and help you understand what's happening. Okay, so let's jump in because this is exciting. There's some really interesting aspects this week. I sort of want you to mark on your calendar October 19. That may be the most challenging day this week. There is some challenging energies there that you might want to be prepared for because all of this week is about relationships. And the aspects that we're dealing with are touching on relationships because the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are all in the sign of Libra, the sign of relationships. In fact, Venus rules Libra. That's one of her signs that she rules. It's about relationships. So, let's see what's going on in our relationships this week that we have to consider and be prepared for. And when I say relationships, I mean every type of relationship that you've got. Because you've got many types, not just a spouse. You have children, you have work partners, you have friends. There's all kinds of relationships that we deal with. And these aspects could be asking you to see and pay attention to the communications and other things in your relationships. Okay, so let's start with October 17. Venus in Libra is in an inconjunct, and this is a confused aspect with Neptune and Pisces. So, what they're trying to do in an inconjunct is they're trying to talk to each other. They are both saying stuff that's right, but they can't, there's a fog there. They can't understand. It's like they're not speaking the same language when there's an inconjunct. So we may be feeling just a little foggy about our relationships, like the status of a relationship with a particular person. I may not understand where I stand with them. Are we going out, or are we just, friends with benefits? Things like that. It's like, where do I stand? Things we're not feeling clear. Could be that we're not feeling clear boundaries with some relationships. So there's a sense of from that aspect of a lack of clarity. Okay? The other aspect, well, actually, yes, one other aspect happening that day is the sun in Libra is in a positive aspect, a trine with Mars in Gemini. And that's good because Mars likes to uh, push things forward, keep things rolling. It's in Gemini, the sign that Mercury rules, the sign of communication. And so there could be, with the sun there in a positive aspect, good, positive, energetic communication with others. So maybe there's some clarity that's needed in some relationships, but in others, there is a great deal of good communication or this effort to get clarity. You have this energy that will give you some positive energy for a positive conversation to get clarity. Okay, so I think that's actually really good. There seems to be, again, thank you, Libra, the balance. We've got one aspect that's challenged a bit, but another aspect that balances it out and tries to turn it into a positive. On October 18th, Venus is in a positive aspect with Mars. And this is great because if you know your mythology, you know that Venus and Mars were lovers, which means that there's positive energy, and that's great. Positive energy in the relationship communication between these two planets, the lovers. That bodes well for the 18th and our relationships and conversations with the people that we love, with our intimate partners. On the 19th, however, we have some challenges. So let's talk about this. The Sun and Venus, at different times of the day, granted, are both going to have conflict or be in a square with Pluto. Pluto being the planet of death, rebirth, transformation, power, control, authority, self authority, empowerment. Pluto is in Capricorn. Capricorn always, for me, is the sign of our career and our work. So, for me, this may be specific for some of us as there is some power control issues in some work relationships, or some of the relationships at work need to be transformed. They're not going as well as they should. There needs to be some processing and healing. If that is not the case, this could be with other relationships where there's a power dynamic that is not equal. And who is empowered? And how do you become empowered if you're not the one in control? So there's that kind of dynamic. It's about processing what's going on, perhaps, and maybe taking the opportunity to change it. Um, Another aspect happening that day, Mercury, also in Libra, opposes Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries. So our relationships may trigger in us. So a person I'm in a relationship with does something that triggers something in me, an old wound, a wound of insecurity, a wound of the self, a wound of confidence. Um, and it's an old, and they could be old wounds that come back to the surface that they're just triggered. And but because Mercury is in Libra and Mercury is the planet of communication and information, there could be a bit of an aspect here where we talk out that wound. It comes to the surface for us to see by in this interaction with someone, and maybe with them we can talk out what's happening, how I feel, how I feel when this happens. And using those I statements are really a powerful thing. That way, the person you're with doesn't always go on the defensive when you're talking about, I am feeling this way. Um, but that might be a way to heal, to process what's going on. So it's definitely a day of processing with a bit of conflict that's happening here. So keep that in mind for the 19th. Let's jump over a couple of days to October 22nd. There is one aspect on that day that is a little unexpected, I would say, but the other aspects of the day again balance it out. There is some positive and some negative. So let's start with a bit of the not the negative, but something that's unexpected. Mercury is in an inconjunct again with Uranus and Taurus. And so that's again confusion. Mercury is not kind of receiving the signal that Uranus is giving. And Uranus is, you may, if you followed me before, you know that I love to describe Uranus as expecting the unexpected. Uranus rules electricity, rules lightning. So acts like a lightning bolt. You never know when it's going to strike. And so on the 22nd, there may be some unexpected communication. There may be a disruption to communication with someone in your life. Um, or there's confused communication. So, but that is balanced out by a couple of other things happening. Both the Sun and Venus, this is their last day in Libra. On the 23rd, they go into Scorpio. But on their last day in Libra, they are so close together, they're conjunct, which means they are giving each other boosts of energy rockets, okay? So this is positive. This makes us feel like we are on the same page with our partners. We are sharing. Everything is good. We're feeling great about this partnership or the people in our lives or our particular relationship in particular. So that is a positive. And then Mercury is in a trine with Saturn. Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn is helping Mercury actually be focused and grounded because Mercury is an air element planet. And Gemini is an air. So it is not always as grounded as it could be. So this means that our relationship communication is getting to be a little more practical and grounded. It's not so up here in the ether. And so that may mean our communication is with our relationships or some in particular specific relationships is back on track. The other thing happening is Saturn that day goes direct. Saturn's been retrograde and it goes direct. That means we've been learning, hopefully, our karmic lessons. We've been taking responsibility for them and acting on them to heal them and to learn from them. Because Saturn wants us to learn our lessons so that we are better and smarter the next time around. The other thing that's been happening with Saturn is that it's been in a square all this time with Uranus, all through September, all through October. And this square is leading to, and I know you felt it, I know we've talked about it, I felt it, is this push and pull between the past and the future. So Uranus represents the future technologies, future innovation. Saturn is the old structures of government, the old ways. So there's been this past versus future. And do we stay in the past? Or we go back to the past? Or do we go to the future? And if you think about what's going on in the world right now, you know that that conflict is there. It's right in front of us. Do we go back to the past, the way things used to be, or the way things people think they were? Or do we go to the future, a new future? The last thing I want to mention is that October 23rd, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio. And the Scorpio season begins. And Scorpio season is when we have the courage to go deep inside and deep into our subconscious. And we're looking at how we need to empower ourselves. We're looking at our fears. We're looking at our insecurities. We're really looking at ourselves and we're looking at our wounds and bringing those to the surface to heal them, to acknowledge them, to love ourselves and release them. Um, and that's not always easy, and it doesn't happen in a day. So we have Scorpio season coming, and I think we'll have more interesting. We're not out of October yet, and we have some more interesting aspects happening, including eclipse season begins. So stay tuned, hang in there, and ride the energies if you can. I'm sending you many blessings. Have a wonderful week.